Greetings viewers, welcome back to the channel. Today's video, as you've seen from the title, we're going to be talking about the icon tools yet again. I know that a lot of you are sick and tired of hearing about the icon stuff, especially all the tool review YouTubers. It's been all over YouTube for the last 2.5 months since they released, and it's pretty much beating a dead horse at this point in time. But as I said in one of my first videos on the tools, that I was going to do a long-term test and review and also give away the tools. So this is that video now. I've been using these tools every day for about 2.5 months, almost 3 months. I believe it was September 15th when I first got my hands on this stuff in my local Harbor Freight store. And we're just going to go over how it's held up over the last 2.5 months, pros, cons of it, things of that nature, any issues that have arisen. And at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a way to enter to win some of these tools. Like I said, I was going to give them away, and what I'll be giving away is right here on the top of my roll cart. I'll be giving away the 1/2 inch drive metric deep and shallow, the 3/8 inch drive deep and shallow, and the 1/4 inch drive deep and shallow socket sets. I've got a standard length 1/4 drive ratchet, a long handle 3/8 straight neck ratchet, and the Comfort Grip short flex 1/2 inch ratchet. I'm going to do 4 prizes. One will be the 1/2 inch deep and shallow with the ratchet. One will be the 3/8 deep and shallow with the ratchet. One will be the 1/4 deep and shallow with the ratchet. And the 4th will be the anti-slip grip wrenches. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get into it and go over some pros and cons of this stuff, what issues I found, if any, and how it's held up in a professional automotive repair environment. With the 1/2 inch sockets, I didn't really get to use a whole lot of them. As most of you subscribers know, I mainly work on Subarus. I was a GM guy before I was a Subaru guy, so occasionally I do work on GMs and anything else that comes through the shop. So the 1/2 inch sockets got a little bit of use, but not a ton. The ones that got the most use were probably the 1/4 and the 3/8, probably more so 1/4 than anything. Again, people that watch my videos, you know, I use a ton of 1/4 inch stuff when working on Subarus. It's usually the first set I grab when I'm doing a job on anything. And with the anti-slip grip wrenches, as you saw, we did the test with the 19 millimeter. I've used them here and there. I've mainly used the stubby ratcheting wrenches and the long handle ratcheting wrenches, which I'm a fan of. I actually really like those wrenches for the price point. They're good wrenches. I've not had any issues out of them, any issues out of the ratcheting mechanism, no binding, no skipping, anything like that. I would put them on par with gear wrench. Some of you may agree, but that's just what I found in my use of them. They're pretty much on par quality-wise. With the 1/2 inch sockets, had no issues out of the small amount of time I used them. I was doing removing main caps on a Chrysler 3.7 liter out of a Jeep Liberty, and if I remember right, I think they were a 15 millimeter or 17 millimeter. I can't remember at this point, but the issue was, I think about the middle of the engine, the main cap bolts had a piece that stuck up, a stud, with a threaded end on it. I believe it was part of what held the windage tray on, but can't remember now. You guys know I don't work on a lot of Jeep and Chryslers. But the issue I found was I could not get the Icon deep socket to go over the fastener to remove it due to the shallow shouldering of the deep sockets. With that said, my snap-on sockets did not work either. Can't remember what I did. I think I ended up having to use an impact deep well socket to break those loose because it was fluted further down. Other than that, no issues. No issues with breaking a socket, no chrome coming off, no kind of like quality issues per se on the half-inch stuff. 3/8 stuff saw more use than half-inch stuff. Being working on Subarus, mainly the 8, 10, 12, 14, 17, 19. The shallow 14 has taken a severe beating. It was just last week I was working on a 2002 WRX, and I was tightening the bolts between the turbo and the downpipe, and the socket got stuck on the fastener, and I could not get it off, being how close it was to the downpipe. I had super hard time. Ended up having to take a striking pry bar and a hammer and catching the lip of it and hammering it back off the fastener, because there was no other way I could get it off of there. I tried my best not to tear it up, so I'll let you see the little bit of damage it got. Well, it's actually quite a bit of damage. Knocked some of the chrome work off. But other than that, the socket has not been hurt as far as functionality-wise. I've used it the rest of the week, and no issue gripping fasteners, turning fasteners with it. The 1/4-inch stuff, like I said, it got the most use, and I did find a couple of issues. I believe it was on the 10 and the 8 mil sockets. I'll get the macro lens out so you can take a closer look at it. I know that some of the other tool channels were showing where the sockets were tearing up and mushrooming out and rounding out after far less time use than I had with them. But I didn't find that as the issue. The 8 and the 10, they do have a tiny little bit, but I suppose that was because I had it on my Snap-on cordless ratchet, and a couple times I'd hit the button before I got it seated on the fastener. It would kind of jump into the end of the bolt or the nut. But I know some of the other reviewers were running them on impacts, which is a big no-no. You don't put chrome sockets on impacts. That's why they're impact sockets, and chrome sockets are hand use. And they had showed where the square drive was wallering out and where the drive-in was wallering out, but I didn't have that issue because these were all used on ratchets and extensions and not on an impact. As far as the ratchets, actually really like the 1/4-inch. The weight, the extra weight that it has in the handle compared to the Snap-on T72. If you're really trying to wrench on something quick, it gives you a lot more to fling, so to say, to whip the tail of the ratchet handle around to get going real fast compared to the T72, which is a much lighter ratchet. No issues with the drive end binding up, locking up, anything of that nature. Did everything I needed to do. It was a nice little ratchet. I might actually go back and buy another one of these, maybe the longer handle one, after this is over with, because I did actually like that one. The 3/8 ratchet, it was decent up until this week, actually. The last repair video, I'm trying to think what I'm uploading now. The repair video that was put out Sunday, this here should be up, video should be up Wednesday. The 2010 Outback, when I was doing the wheel hub bearing assembly replacement, this ratchet actually started locking up on me a couple times and skipping teeth. I don't know what that's about. I haven't opened it up and taken a look inside yet, but I hadn't had any issue out of it prior to that. Pretty decent ratchet. The 1/2-inch ratchet hasn't gotten a ton of use, but in the time I've used it, again, have not had any issues out of it. Do like the comfort grip. It is a little bit bigger than, say, the comfort grip on a Mac or Snap-on ratchet. Took a little bit of getting used to, but you know, it is a comfort grip. It was comfortable. I didn't have any complaints on it. It wiped clean very easily. It didn't start peeling up. I did soak this thing in some transmission fluid and oil and grease just to see if it would start tearing up and degrading, and let it sit for 24 hours before I took it off the first time, and no real damage that I can see. just sprayed it off with brake parts cleaner and wiped it down with a rag like I do my other soft grip ratchet handles. No issue there. To the anti-slip grip wrenches, I used them a bit, but not as much as I use the ratcheting wrenches. Again, like I said, I'm not really a big fan of the design, and as you saw in the head-to-head with the Icon and the Snap-on Flank Drive Plus, on that fastener, we actually damaged the wrench. We tore up a couple of the teeth, rounded them over, and you know, they're just too soft. They haven't been properly heat treated, or the metallurgy isn't right, or something. But you know, that's what you get with cheaper wrenches. Another thing that I didn't point out on that first video on the wrenches is the broaching on the box end. There's actually 3 or 4 of these wrenches that's not even broached centered. It's offset, and really, really poor broaching on it. A lot of the corners are rounded over. Some of them are pointed. I'll get the macro lens in so you can see the difference. I'll show you the difference between the Snap-on Flank Drive and Flank Drive Plus box end of the wrench and the box end of the Icons, and it's worlds different. If there's anything you're going to spend money on in professional tools, good wrenches. Definitely good wrenches. You don't want to go cheap on wrenches, never. Just because you don't want to open in rounding off stuff and flaring out, and you don't want the box end just being a chewed up mess of not precision machining. I mean, wrenches are a place you always want to spend money. Same with your sockets. I didn't really have a ton of issue, like I said, with these, and they're okay for what they are, but there were several instances, I believe in the 3/8, I was doing an engine disassembly for a head gasket repair on an EJ 25D, and removing the cam caps, the 10mm bolts that hold the cam caps, there were a couple instances where it felt like the Icon socket was starting to round over the bolt, and I just had to stop and put a snap-on socket on it. It was just, I don't know if my tin is a little looser in the way it was broached, machined, or what, but it just wasn't confident inspiring. I didn't feel comfortable using it. I didn't want to risk rounding off a cam cap bolt, so I had to use the snap-ons for that disassembly and on the reassembly when I was torquing everything. So where does the Icon stuff land in the broad spectrum of tools out there? Harbor Freight came out and touted hard the line that these are professional tools and professional grade, and they'll take on the tool trucks and tool truck killers and blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, that's not true. I mean, you can be a Harbor Freight fanboy all you want. I know I've got lots of you in the comments, and hate on the tool trucks and hate on professional tools, but a lot of you I don't think are actually professional technicians. You're DIYers and weekend warriors, and you know, have no reason to invest the kind of money that the tool truck tools cost. And I kind of bring it to this analysis. People always say, well, why do you put this much money, why do you buy these expensive tools and cheap tools will suffice, and you know, yada, yada, yada. Well, think of it this way. Professional quality grade tools are no different in the automotive field as they are in any other professional field. You would not want to hire a wedding photographer to come photograph your wedding at $2,000-3,000 or whatever a wedding photographer pulls for a wedding now, and they shoot your wedding on an iPhone, a disposable camera, or a point and shoot. Now, would you? You want to see them in there with a high-end Nikon, a high-end Canon 1DX, something like that. You know, that's $5,000-6,000 camera bodies, just the camera body, no lens, and then they've got thousands and thousands of dollars invested in lenses. The tool is what you use in your profession to make the product. I know a lot of them say, well, it doesn't matter what wrench or what socket you put on a bolt, it doesn't know which one's turning it. That's absolutely true because it's an inanimate object, but when that cheaper socket or wrench rounds off that bolt, and now you've got to spend an extra 30 minutes or more trying to extract that rounded off bolt, trying to replace that rounded off bolt to get the job completed, you're losing money, especially if you're working flat rate. Look at it like a professional baker. You're not going to go into a professional bakery and find a $50 Black & Decker mixer from Walmart in there. You're going to find a couple $1,000 Hobart mixer, or whatever the name brand big commercial kitchen stuff is. And it's just like a head chef. He's not using a $30 chef's knife. Most of them in like the higher tiered culinary arts are using, several $100 to $1,000 Japanese, mostly, utensils, cutlery, knives. It's like I said, it's just no different in any other profession if you think about it. So where does this stuff, went off on a tangent, where does this stuff fall in the spectrum? This stuff, like I said, is not quite professional grade. You don't just step up to the plate and say you're professional grade out of the blue. Everyone takes shots at Snap-on, but Snap-on's been in business in the next, let's see, 2 more months or so, when we hit 2020, 100 years. Mac tools, I think, is around 60, 70 years in the trade. Matco's about 40, which is, actually it is 40 because they just had their 40th anniversary stuff released, but that's skewed years because Matco and Mac used to be together and they split. But anyway, that's beside the point. And Cornwell is 101 years old. The professional tool companies have been doing this for near a century in most parts. They've got it figured out. Are their prices high? Are their prices a little bit extravagant? Yes. On a lot of stuff? Yes. Do you have to be smart with what you buy off the tool truck and what you buy elsewhere? Absolutely. But when it comes to like hardline hand tools, the stuff your bread and butter, sockets, ratchets, wrenches, screwdrivers to a lesser degree, pliers to a lesser degree, but still important, things of that nature, it's always worth the money to invest in the best that you can get. A tool truck brand is not always the best you can get, but they are, at least in the U.S., some of the best, longest lasting tools. Can you break a Snap-on socket? Absolutely. If you watched the video, a month or 2 ago when I was breaking down the EJ253 short block, I cracked a brand new, not even a week and a half old, 12 millimeter Snap-on socket. Was it my fault? I don't think so. It was by hand. I was bouncing on the ratchet a little bit. But, it could have just been a bad casting. Things like that happen. But other than that, and the amount of time that I've been working with tools, I don't think I've broken but 2 other Snap-on sockets. One was because I had on an impact and it was a chrome socket, which is a no-no, like I said. And the other was it was a little 5.5 or 5 mil 1/4 inch ratchet, and was trying to remove something that was way too tight and popped it right down the center. But, again, doing something I shouldn't have done with it. If you use the tools as they're designed to be used, in the range of torque that they're designed to be used, and properly care for and maintain them, the professional tools will last as long as you want them to. Like I said, this ratchet here is 2.5 months old, and it's already starting to bind up and slip, Mac stupid. And the Snap-on FL80, which I basically replaced with this one for this duration of testing, I believe at this point is 6 or 7 years old, and I've never had a rebuild done on it. No issues, no skipping, nothing. They typically make your sockets in the range of fasteners that they're, rated for. If you got a 1/2 inch, 12 mil up, actually 10 mil up's probably fine. 3/8 normally is 8 to 19. Quarters normally 4 to 15 or 4 to 14 or 5 to 14, depending on what set you get. As long as you operate within the sizes intended for the ratchet and the fastener, the socket, normally you don't have an issue. But when you start beating on stuff, and you guys understand, it's impossible to 100% use everything accurately as it's meant to be used. I know There's plenty of times that I have used a screwdriver as a pry bar. I've hit a screwdriver like a chisel. I've put chrome sockets on impacts before, you know. In that instance, when you need to get a job done and you don't have what you need and you got to make do, I understand. But when you do it every day on the regular, cutting corners and just straight abusing tools, they're going to fail. It's just part of it, and I'm getting wildly off on crazy stuff, and I don't know how I'm going to make this a coherent video at this point. So the Icon stuff isn't exactly professional grade, so where in the spectrum of tools does it fall? I believe this stuff is great to fill the void that was the Sears Craftsman brand. I know that Craftsman still exists. It was bought by Stanley Black & Decker, now sold in Lowe's, but I've heard from several accounts that they don't honor the old USA Craftsman Sears tools warranties, and it's a big hullabaloo, and a lot of it's made in China, but they're trying to bring it back to the US, but yada, yada, yada. I was never a fan of Craftsman. I don't know why so many people put in the comments longing for the old USA Craftsman. It was always kind of junky in my opinion. I never really liked it. Never really liked the feel of the wrenches. The ratchets were pretty much garbage. The sockets were decent, but we're not here talking about that. I think this will fill that void. It's cheap enough for the home gamer, the DIY guy, the weekend warriors, and you have an actual brick and mortar store that you can go into and exchange this stuff in person for your lifetime warranty, which was one big selling point for Sears and Craftsman. You know, you just grabbed your stuff, went to the store, boom, you're done. Especially someone in my situation, the local Harbor Freight is less than a 5-minute drive from the shop, so pretty convenient. But yeah, that's where I think that they're really going to do well, is that area, not so much on the professional lineup. Will the price difference between this and Pittsburgh be a factor? Because the Pittsburgh stuff and the other Harbor Freight stuff was already lifetime warranty for the most part, so why pay the premium for this stuff? Hard to say. One benefit is no skips in the socket sets. They're 6-point rather than a mix of 6 and 12-point, which you don't ever want to use a 12-point socket on anything but a 12-point fastener, especially cheap ones, because you're going to round out bolts and strip bolt heads. So as far as that, I don't know exactly. That'll be up to the individual consumer whether they want to buy the premium brand or they want to stick with the old tried and true Harbor Freight brands. But yeah, as far as professional use, I don't see it holding up long term. Yes, if it breaks, you can run it to the store, but how many times a week do you want to start replacing this stuff? Not that I'm saying that it's going to break on you weekly, but there is that chance. As we've seen from the testing, the wrenches and the sockets to a degree are softer than a professional grade tool. So, all of that said, and if any of you are still awake and still listening and still watching the video, we'll get on to the giveaway part. So, to the contest and the giveaway. Again, the 1/2-inch sockets and ratchet, 3/8 sockets and ratchet, 1/4-inch socket and ratchets, and the wrenches. 4 prizes, 4 chances to win. This video should be going up on Wednesday, December the 4th, 2019. From the time that the video is up until that Sunday, which will be December 8th. So, Wednesday the 4th to Sunday the 8th. You've got till midnight. You've got a chance to enter to get this stuff. So what we're going to do is it's going to be really simple. All the official rules will be in the description below. It's going to be open to U.S. residents, 48 contiguous states. And basically all you got to do to enter and get a chance to win one of these 4 items, which will be given at random. You don't get to choose which one you get, unfortunately. Leave a like on the video and leave a comment saying, I need new tools. That's all you've got to do. Like the video and comment, I need new tools. And you will be entered to win one of the 4 prizes. Like I said, we'll run it till midnight on Sunday the 8th. Once midnight hits, I'll go on a random comment picker website and randomly pick 4 people. I will then probably make a community post about it. I'm not exactly sure if you can still direct message people on YouTube. I think they might have taken that out. But anyway, I'm going to make a community post or make another video and name the 4 winners. You have 24 hours to email, get back in touch with me, and give me your shipping information so I can send you one of your prizes. And if within 24 hours I don't hear back from the people, I'll go ahead and pick another person, and we'll try to get in contact with them and keep continuing until we get 4 people to get these tools sent to them. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you're still awake, because I know I rambled on and went all over the place with this video. And I will see you in the next video.